Shalom, shalom. Kol halalim la Yahweh b'Hashem Yahshai b'Hashem Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the prophets of that body, and shalom to the 144,000 and 1/3. May peace and blessings be on your households. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Verse 2, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. Right? And the Lord is plucking up. Right? There's a couple of things I just want to touch on. Right? Number one, something's going on where, approximately 10,000 or more so-called rich people have left the UK. All right. It's from January 2025. They say more than 10,000 millionaires have left in the last year or so. Why are the UK's richest fleeing the country? Okay. Now let's put it in a nutshell. They're giving the thing regarding dom status or dom. I'm assuming domicile or dom. Let's just leave it as dom status, right? Now, dom status is what is dom status? What is non-dom status? Non-dom describes a UK resident whose permanent home or domicile for tax purposes is outside the UK. It refers to a person's tax status and has nothing to do with their nationality, citizenship, or resident status, or that it can affect by these factors. All right. So basically, people that have a permanent residency outside of the UK where they've got income and they're being taxed, right? Very little, they'll be taxed heavily if they keep their non-dom status. Okay, so if they still live in the UK, hope I'm getting that correct. If they still live in the UK, right, but their income is coming from abroad, they'll be taxed just the same in the UK. So a lot of millionaires are leaving. All right. Now that's what they're giving you as news, which is what they're ultimately doing is dismantling, right? Dismantling the financial economy further, where where people have a lot of disposable income and spending power are being removed. They're using that, but also amongst these wealthy, so-called wealthy people, you got lower level, the luminaries. They know something's coming. The same way 9 to the 1 to the 1 in 2001 on a Tuesday, which I remember because I was at work that day. Tuesday, yeah. I remember the same way they set that up, and then you find out after so many ISH people, small hatters, 1948ers, approximately 3,000 of them didn't come to work that day, that specific day on September the 11th. In the same way, a lot of these rich are leaving the UK, and a lot of people are, picking up pieces and moving different parts of America. Some, got a bit of money. Some extremely wealthy are going to neutral zones. Some are just moving to better parts of America where gun laws are, still somewhat like the Wild West, where they can walk around strapped up and open carry. And you know how it's in Texas, you see a lot of Jake over there, Issachar and that, walking around with, I don't know the technical terms, I don't know, the likes of an AK-47 or something, or an AR-15, on a gun rack or whatever, or inside their vehicle, where it's an easy view for somebody's eyesight, right? You can, everything's pretty much it's a free for all from what I know of Texas, but we know that the gun laws are quite loose over there, and the tax situation as well, I believe. So that's why a lot of wealthy people are moving to strategic parts of the world. Some even fleeing countries. Okay. Now they're always going to give you news, because otherwise, if you work with a lot of these wealthy people and you live on a street with these wealthy people, where your family are doing just enough, doing well enough to have a house in that neighborhood, but you're not as wealthy as those people, you know, um, you're going to find out. People are going to start talking. Why are these people leaving? Why are these people leaving? And before you know it, social media is going to start spinning the news that, okay, they're leaving because something's coming to England, something's coming to America. Like some kind of T-ist attack. You know, all right, with the two R's in the middle of the name, sorry, of the word, T-ist attack, a T attack, right? And they're going to start spinning that web, which is, they're going to start spinning that story, which could be true or could not be true, but I don't know. Only the Lord knows, right? So therefore, to control the narrative, to control the situation, Hegelian dialectic, pressure from above, pressure from above, pressure from below, they're controlling the situation. So they're going to give this spin on the tax, on the non-dom status. Now, there's that. Also, this is a good excuse to get rid of a lot of the wealthy. So they can say, oh, yeah, we're leaving because of tax purposes, so they can tell the Mr. Smiths on their road, or the Mr. Jones on their road, or whatever, the street they live on. Now, this is why we're leaving. And they'll say, oh, they're leaving because of this. And they've got home abroad anyway, all that kind of thing. So it won't be such a big question mark in their head for regular people that are knowing these so-called wealthy people. It won't be a big question mark in their head, right? And also at the same time, they're taking out all the big money out of the country as well, which means less spending power, less. Obviously, it's going to have a severe dent into the economy to a certain degree as well. Because some of these people that are leaving could have offices and companies here in the UK as well in terms of businesses. So there's going to be a certain effect there, as well as disposable income, right? But at the same time, they have a beautiful excuse to leave the country because something's happening, and this has been happening since the beginning of the year, and also very recently. This news is still, traveling. Where a lot of the wealthy are leaving, and it's like, as I say, in the grapevine. Okay, so where's this news from? It is from. Let's see the date here. Oh, he's saying more than 20,000 wealthy people could have been driven out of the UK as a result of changes. Yeah, a lot of people are complaining. They're saying, okay, yeah, so the rich can leave because of the tax situation, right? But then they're pumping in all these immigrants that don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. So people are pissed off, man. And these are the mournings of the people, man. Scripture comes to mind: when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Let's get that scripture. When the wicked beareth rule, King James Version. Oh yeah, Slack when the righteous are in authority. Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. And people are mourning, saying, oh yeah, you rich people can leave. Is it oligarchy type people can leave. You lesser luminaries can leave, right? But then you're pumping in all these immigrants and foreigners and all these people, with dark skin, into our country, with it that don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, man. You know, that's happening. Then at the same time, we got this. You know, you know, you know. The beef is amplifying. Let's see. You got this happening as well. Iran must make peace, or future attacks will be far greater. Trump says. You know. You know. Let's see.
The U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the three key a short time ago.
So America's, throwing their weight around, and this is the beginning. The rumors of wars, the little scuffles here and there, skirmishes in different parts of the world. All right, paraphrasing that scripture, rumors of wars. It's going to read to Revelation 11:14, which is World War III, which is going to happen. Okay, okay. So therefore, with this happening, which means a charagma, The mark of the beast is around the corner. Now, haven't they been talking about that? Haven't they been showing that in movies? Revelation of the method, they like to prophesy on the left hand side because that's part of their left hand side satanic religion. You know, the way that our prophets and our elders and teachers from the Spirit of Power, Yahweh Shem Yashai, the men of GMS, Great Millstone, teach us and let us know what time it is in the Spirit and Power of Yahweh Shem Yashai, of what it is, what's happening, what's to come. Right? The same way these devils in their in their satanic religion, right? They have to do it as well in a certain way, through coded language, coded hand signs and all that, eye signs, like I don't know, closing one eye and all that shit, right? And then again, also, in cartoons, in comedy, they have stand-up comedians talk about this and that and the third, you know, um, who are lesser luminaries also. They'll put it in their movies, they'll put it in their speeches, you know. They'll let you know. And it's only certain people, more than likely, 99% of the time, or most of the time, let's just say 100% of the time, the elect get it. The hopeful elect, whoever they are, the elect, whoever they are across the four corners of the earth, get it because they're the elect. They're not going to be deceived. They're not going to be deceived by this bullshit. They weren't deceived by taking the 1-9, the snake juice. They jumped over that hurdle, and there's a couple more hurdles to go, man. That's those hurdles you got to overcome. Going through the straight gate. Let's play. Let's see what's happening.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for.
And there's one more thing I want to add as well. All these rich people leaving, they're leaving because, number one, England is a small country. All right. There's not many wildernesses or places you can hide like in America. You got like the mountains and this, that, and the third. The UK is a very small place. All right. You can be barricaded easily on the roads. You can be caught up. We don't have those huge American type highways where you can hide in nooks and crannies. Yeah, you can get around, but you can easily be caught. That's why when most drive-bys are done over here by street gangs and all that kind of thing, and certain hits take place, they usually do it on a motorcycle or scooter because you can zigzag through traffic. Now, a lot of these wealthy are not going to have much time because once the people really turn and Jacob's trouble kicks in, Jeremiah 30 verse 7, and the race riots happen and all that, these people don't want to be caught up in that. And then again, also, there'll be few, more than likely, at least one or two probably smaller nukes, if there is such a thing, or explosions that will be happening in the major cities around England as well. England won't be obliterated, but there'll be definitely some, a couple of little skirmishes and explosions here and there as well. So they want to avoid that. And also they want to be in a place where it's a safe zone for them or a neutral zone, or maybe go to their bunkers. That's why a lot of these so-called elites or wealthy people are leaving England, America, doesn't Tom Hanks have a place in Greece or south of France? What about Brad Pitt, all them lot, Samuel L. Jackson, I think so. They have places abroad, man. They got the money for that, and some people have bunkers in America. They're staying where they are. They're saying, they're, like Rick Ross. Rick Ross goes, I got a bunker too, and a lot of them are proud enough to see the big thick steel walls, and they think that, you know what, man, when these nukes hit, I'm gonna be good inside here. They don't realize it, that it's gonna be, they're gonna be like in a microwave, if they survive when those bunkers are opened up by Yahweh Shai and the elect, right? If you're alive, right, you're gonna get deleted if you're a 2/3 Jake, or if you're a heathen, you're going into slavery, or you're gonna get deleted, right? But either way, you're gonna be a slave when you're reborn again, all right, you heathens, okay? Or when those bunkers are open, you're gonna be like melted ice cream. You're gonna look like that, 1 second, let me just play this. All right, that's why a lot of these people are leaving because they know something's coming. All right, a lot of these people are given a head start because moving a house or moving from one place to another is not an easy situation. A lot of them want to take their money with them, their cars with them. You remember that movie 2012, which came out in 2009 with John Cusack, that billionaire Edomite, the Russian. Right? What was he taking with him in his planes? All his cars. all his prized possessions. He wanted to fly in his Russian jet. You know, and in the end, what happened? you know, he died in the end, right? He didn't even make it into the plane. He fell right to the floor. He fell right into over the cliff, or I believe, no, was it a cliff, or he fell into the sea, whatever it was, because the ships were big ass arcs, you know, you know, and that's why a lot of these people want to, uproot and take all their things with them, sell their properties, their vehicles, and go to a neutral part of the world. You know, I mean, I've got where's that video from? Yeah, like this woman here. Millionaire who lives in a castle is leaving Britain to avoid paying more tax. All right. Yeah, her name is okay. Former Real Housewives of Toronto, Dr. Anne Kaplan Mulholland. Is that her? Okay, who's that? Okay, no, that's somebody else. I thought that was a lady's name. Yeah, so millionaire who lives in a castle, she bought like or rented a British castle. Now she's moving. So a lot of those people are moving. All right, and this is from the 6th of May, 2025. So this is all recent news as well. All right. Okay. Satan getting pissed off, man, sending more and more flies in there when I'm trying to make a video. Anyway, and I'm not, and I'm nobody, man. Anyway, let me just play this. I'm trying to buzz around me and shit. Anyway, shut up. Let me just play this.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the three key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's number one state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future
Salakia, I couldn't leave that one there. Esau's got some nerve, man, calling another country a bully or somebody that does a lot of deleting. When a so-called white man's track record, man, is a trail of blood. All right, in the most gruesome, most atrocious way, man. All right, you damn devils cannot talk about being bully.
attacks would be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God, I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank
God bless the Middle East.
God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Which God is he talking about? All right. So it's only going to amplify. Now, what's this going to lead to? You know, it's going to lead to the CHIP, and it's around the corner, right? And the Lord Yahweh Hashem Shai, lets you know spiritually with numbers as well. I don't really see like 666 like that, you know. But recently, right, every time I see, because Elder Yashawamba talked about it as well. He goes, oh, when he sees it, he goes, sometimes you wonder what's going to happen. But through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Shai, the Lord has been putting in my mind the discernment, okay? Because the Lord gives you indication and signs of what's to come, right? Now, because you might see 666, don't get worried, all right? Especially if you believe in Yahweh Hashem Shai and you have faith in Yahweh Hashem Shai, right? Don't get worried. It's the Lord letting you know that the charagma is around the corner. The CHIP, the rice grain, that's around the corner. The economy is about to crash because as soon as you see the 666, what happens? The Lord shows you a 444. The Lord shows you a 555. The Lord shows you a 144 or a 441. Why? To let you know when these things happen, when the charagma comes in, that's when the Lord Yahweh Shem Yashai or Adawan Yahweh Shem Yashai is going to download certain jakes with spiritual power. That's when the Yahweh Shem Yashai is going to show himself more. Okay, because for the elect to shine the elect are shining anyway spiritually. Look at our apostles on down, man. Huh? Men up in age, and they're shining, man, shining like gold. Our prophets and that, right? But how much more the elect when they get that spiritual power, they're going to start shining physically, you know. So when the left hand side does their thing, yeah, Yahweh Shem Yashai is going to say, okay, here we go, amplify the elect, all right. Because what did Yahweh Hashem Yashai say? When the enemy comes in like a flood, the Lord's going to set that standard. What's that standard? That standard is going to be spiritual power, man. You could disappear, you could fly away. If you're in a situation where there's 10, 15 of them, and they're like, you're like 5'11", 6'4", they're like 6.5 feet tall and shit, 250 pounds each, doing all sorts of moves you never seen before, Yahweh Hashem Yashai will either make you disappear, fly away, or an angel will show up, or download you with that power to, defeat them and delete them. The Lord is going to do these things, man. And what did the Lord say? The Lord said he's not a man that he should lie. All right? Okay? The Lord ain't lying, man. Isaiah 46 and 10, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand and I will do all my pleasure. All right? This is a story, man. The Lord, Adawan Yahweh Shem Yashai, declared the end from the beginning. All right? This is a movie. All right? And the main stars are Jacob and Esau. Jacob is so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. All right? As well as the seed line paternally scattered to the four corners of the earth. Pursued through Deuteronomy 28:64, Isaiah 11:11, 11 and 12, when the second Exodus is going to happen. All right? The first major one was Egypt. Now we're in New Egypt again. All right? But the bulk of the Israelites, quoting Elder Malcolm, and Barakatah to the elder, man. Excellent teacher, man, in spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yashai. He says, what does the elder say in spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yashai? He says, he says, I lost my train of thought. Damn saying, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times. Okay, so yeah, the Jacob and Esau. As Elder Malcolm will say, that the bulk, don't get it twisted, the bulk of the Israelites are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians. All right? Which is true, which is true. And this is a story that we have to go through. All right? We have to go through. I mean, listen, because of our stupid ways, all right? All right, these damn crackers got a chance to feel lord, feel like lords, man. Feel like kings, man. Feel like somebody, like that song. I want to be somebody. I want to make my stand. Esau had his, felt like somebody for a little while. He felt like somebody for a little while. Now his time is coming, man. He can't. He's trying to stretch his rulership, but it can't happen. You know, because our kingdom is coming, and these are the signs there, the indications, the clues. You know, like that show from the 80s, I think, for a UK show. Those that you remember, it might come on cable in America. Give us a clue, right? Or what they call charades, I think, in America. Is it charades? Something like that, right? And Yahweh Shemashah is giving us clues, right? Okay, the Lord speaks to you, man. All right, you could be thinking about something, saying, "Oh man, that's not going to happen," or "When will it happen?" You know, and then you do a prayer. The Lord shows you a spiritual number, and then you might see something like a slogan or a statement. It could even be a song. All right, but the Spirit just lets you know, boom, boom, boom. Hello, here's the answer, and the answer was things change. You know, it could be a 50 Cent song, and your spirit just goes to the title, things change. Okay, yeah, things are going to change. You know. I don't want Ratazar for the better, but the Lord is buffering you, man, just controlling everything, And now we're approaching that end. All right, the other nations. This is the Yahweh Shem Yashai story, man. Like that a 50 Cent song, "Underdog on Top." You know, you're that. You're like the ugly duckling. Jake is like the ugly duckling. Now Jake's gonna become that swan. You know, being kicked around and that nobody wanted the ugly duckling, but everybody wanted to use the ugly duckling or the duckling. I hate to use this as an analogy, but you know what I mean, right? You know, but now everybody, wants a piece uh, of Jake, but they don't want to be Jake. You know what I mean? They just want to use Jake for his talent. Copy your star, copy your steez, and then still call you racist words, but dress and act like you though. Trying to vibe off to your music and trying to act cool to your music. But then they still effing ninjas. That's how these crackers are, man. You know, especially these racist KKK skinhead crackers. They act like Jake, use Jake slang, but then they're racist. act like YNs, posing, showing their stomach tattoos like the Ishikarite gang members. A lot of these crackers try and copy Ishikar too. You know, but Serenos and his skinheads have got like a pact in prison, isn't it? The southern Mexican Jake's a bunch of coons anyway. You know. Yeah, man. So declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times, the things that are not yet done. All right, saying my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. All right, things are going to start happening now. It's a story. This is a movie. All right, this is a movie. Okay, the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yashah is directing. The angels are recording everything. Okay. All right, the angels are recording everything. Okay. Job 14:5. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. Esau, the so-called white man, can't go past his, this rulership. A lot of you Jakes, a lot of you 2/3 Jakes are scared. You don't want his kingdom to fall. You're trying to think, how am I going to live? How am I going to survive? I just want to be an Israelite in America or the UK or wherever I am. I'm okay. And I'm a doctor or a lawyer. I'm a chef. I've got a decent job. My family's good. I'm all right being an Israelite like this. I don't want to lose what I have. You're scared. All right. You got to understand. You think the Yahweh Shemashah is going to give you spiritual power. Endless life, where you won't ever die again. Endless youth and power. His name, statutes, laws, commandments in you, just for having a cakewalk, an easy deal. All right, you're not gonna get those blessings just by taking it easy and having it cushy, so to speak. You're not gonna get it like that. You're going to go through hardship, trial and error. You're going to go through, like your brain's about to explode, but then you've got to cast those demons out of your mind. You're going to go through You're gonna be pissed off all the fucking time. And when the weekend comes, you're not gonna even have no rest. You say, you're planning things. Oh, I'm gonna do this, down the third today. Then I'm gonna watch a couple of movies. I might have a few beers. You might get 4 or 5 hours free on a Saturday or something on the evening. You know, and that still doesn't like quench your rest or whatever. Because even when you're watching a movie, where's your mind going? Which is a beautiful thing on your Halba Shem Hashem praying, and at the same time, cursing out this fucking kingdom as well. You know. And then you feel elate when you see this news, and somebody say, "Ah, oh, man, it's not happening fast enough." But you shouldn't say that. But then again, that's not a bad thing. Wanting this kingdom to end, you know, uh, hastening the time. Job 14:5, seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. All right. It's like a person with a beautiful head of hair, right? While they're young and comely, they got a beautiful thick head of hair, and the Lord has blessed them time to look comely and beautiful while they're young, right? Male or female, right? Okay, I'll give you an example that way. And then there's a time where that beauty runs out. It could be 40, 45 or whatever, and you're bald headed, you look like John Travolta, you have a thick head of hair, you look like John Travolta now. There's a certain set time. You ain't gonna look the same forever. You ain't gonna be lean and sharp looking forever. You ain't gonna have the women swooning over you forever. There's a certain set limit. The same with Esau, man. Esau ain't that hunk no more. The so-called white man ain't that hunk no more. Making derogatory terms about laying on the beach and getting a tan and saying to Jake, "Hey, Jake, you want a tan? Hey, Mr. Black Man, do you want a tan? Oh, hey, Julio, you want a tan? No, you already got natural one anyway." Trying to make a mockery of somebody because they got natural brown skin. All these. You remember these underlying comments? You do, because I remember it. I'm in my late 40s. These kind of indirect fucking comments these crackers had to make, man. Esau ain't that hunk no more, man. All right, his time is over. All right, Esau is finished. All right. A lot of us sometimes get pissed off, and there's nothing wrong with being angry. There's nothing, because there's no other way, man. There's no easy way out of this situation. We have to go through the straight gate, the hopeful elect, whoever they are. All right. There's no other way. You can think about it. All right. All right. Let's just say you meditate upon it. Oh, I want to be a millionaire, but where are you gonna go? Wherever you go, it's the same situation. You might feel okay for maybe a week or two because it's a different environment. You might have a few more palm trees, better looking women in your environment. You might be in a so-called holiday mode. You got dough in your pocket. But after a week or two, that shit's going to wear off and it's going to be the same shit again. And then you say, "Oh, I've got to move again." You know why? Because this is not our rest. All right? Now, what I'm saying, don't get over righteous. It doesn't mean that you can't go abroad and visit a place. There's nothing wrong with that, man. You earn your money lawfully. You can do what you want, and within lawfulness, of course, right? Okay, but you're not going to get no rest because this is not our rest, man. We're going to get our rest in the kingdom, whoever, as a whole, collectively, as the Israelites, but the hopeful elect first, man. The elect first, the elect within the elect. Habakkuk 2 and 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak. And is it not speaking right now? And not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. It will surely come. Like that, what's that guy? Dachavelli, Stefflon Don's brother. That song, Surely, Surely. Yeah, man. Surely, surely it's going to happen, man. Not that I like that character song. I don't like that grime music shit, But, that song, the statement, in the song was called Surely, Surely, right? Yeah, it's surely going to happen. This is surely going to happen. Though it tarry, though it delay, wait for it. It's going to come. Like they say, though they say peace and safety, but sudden destruction come upon them like a woman in travail. Like that movie 2012 with John Cusack. He drops his children off, right? Then he finds out the news that there's going to be some kind of destruction or whatever, right? And then they got like fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was a governor at the time of California, saying to everyone, "Oh, it's okay, everything's going to be all right. Don't worry, we got this in control," or whatever. And seconds later, what happens? He lied, man. They say peace and safety to you. What happened? They have an earthquake. California started imploding and exploding. John Cusack comes there, rescues his slutty ex-wife who's living with some doctor in the movie, right? and the doctor's Porsche gets swallowed up, his house, nice house, gets swallowed up. Picks up his children. Even you've seen the movie. They say peace and safety, man. This is not going to tarry, man. When this starts happening, you're going to know, and we can see it happening, man. And it's around the corner. Okay, it's an excitement, an elation that you feel, knowing that the kingdom, you can taste it, man. That's going to be the biggest test as well. Are you gonna fold when they start CHIPing people? No food, no water. People like Chief Ephraim and other people like that don't believe that the mark of the BEAST, Revelation 13:16, is the RFI to the DCHIP. They don't believe that. They're just trying to justify it in their own mind of getting it. So he can hold on to his comfort. He can hold on to his 2-3 wives that he has. He can hold on to his homes, his cars. They're trying to justify it, and he probably will take it. Because if they don't believe the mark is the RFI to the DCHIP, right, according to Revelation 13:16, they're going to say, okay, we can take it and we can remove it anytime. You can't do that, all right, because that thing is going to lock in, all right? So that is around the corner, man. Okay, the CHIP is around the corner, all right? And the signs are there, all right? You got the rich leaving, all right? You got war brewing, all right? Attacks have already been made by America. All right. America's trying to be the all high and mighty, all powerful America, trying to save their day. Like that, was it Cap? What was that? Was it like Mighty Mouse? Here I come to save the day. Like the Mighty Mouse song, cartoon, if you remember that one from your childhood. I remember that. Here I come to save the day. That's Esau with his pride, like he knows about righteousness. He doesn't have a righteous bone in his body, man. All right? Yeah, he's real righteous, he is. You get done over for having multiple wives, but you can be a faggot. You can get, they can put 2 men kissing on fucking camera in programs. They can put 2, women, licking, dealing with each other. That's real righteous, that is, man. They kiss their dogs in the mouth. That's real righteous, that is. Esau doesn't have a righteous bone in his body, man. All right? He's a piece of shit. Okay? So we can see that these are the signs, man. All right? Okay? 2nd Ezra 6:9. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. All right? And this thing's only going to turn up further. All right? So the signs are there. All right? The CHIP is around the corner. It could be this year. All right? They could have crashed the economy this summer, and lo and behold, by winter, the people could be lining up. All right? And along with the financial aspect, people want normalcy back. They're going to try and entice you by, they might even stage a whole bunch of children being kidnapped, saying, oh, yeah, you got to CHIP your children. Single people that don't have no family, they've got a dog or a cat. They might nap some dogs or cats. And they say, CHIP your dogs and cats so they can keep it with them. They're going to give them different ways. All right. And the way the so-called white man, the way they do with the so-called white man is they take the so-called white man just to catch you Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives, to create more stumbling blocks for you Israelites. The so-called white man is willing to give up his freedoms just to get at you Jakes. But these crackers don't know it's from their demise as well. So when they give up their gun laws, it's going to affect these honkies too. When they give up certain freedoms, it's going to affect these honkies too. Okay, collectively, it's going to affect everybody. But Jacob, you Israelites are the primary target because we have rulership of the earth next. All right. And these are the signs of this place falling. All right. So all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahshai Ba'Shem Rakak